G'day guys, I got this old fiberglass dinghy the other day for $5. It's had a bit of a rough life. It got picked up by a high tide and smashed against the rocks, so got some massive holes in it here, from here extending right up to there. This piece was just flapping around, so just going to repair it and repaint it, and it should be as good as new. So I thought I'd make a video of the process. You can see here, back of the hull's worn out. I'll sand it all back down to strong glass and just glass back over that. And this side's taken a bit of a hammering as well. That's quite weak, so I'll just put some cloth over that. And it's had a bit of a dodgy repair at some stage, so I'll take all that back and redo it. Looks like they've just glassed over the gel coat, so I'll grind all that off. That's it to fiberglass and put a piece of cloth over that whole lot. And another crack down there. So what I've done first, I've given it a good water blast just to get any salt off it. And this piece was all flapping around, so I've just been gluing these little pieces of wood on just to get the shape back to where it should be. Just using a hot glue gun for that. A couple of dabs like this. So you can see it's not quite right there, so I'll pull that back in and glue a piece of wood over all this. And then what I'll do is work from the inside, put a patch over the inside, and that'll hold its shape, pull these bits of wood off, and then just re-glass this whole bottom. It's been weakened a bit. You can see the whiteness in there. That means it's taken a bit of an impact, so I'll grind the gel coat right back to strong glass and just patch it all up. Yeah, you can see there I've pulled it back to its original shape, so hopefully they hold on when I tip it over. Oh, well, that was fairly successful. The sticks are holding on and the crack is closed up. So I'll just grind all that gel coat off and roughen up the glass and put a bit of a patch over there. I'll be using this abrasive disc to clean all the gel coat off the glass and just to scuff it up a bit so the glass sticks a bit better. You see it's sort of semi-flexible, so you don't dig into the fiberglass too much. Alright, you can see I've ground off the gel coat, wide enough to put a 10cm strip patch in there. Scuffed up the fiberglass as well. I'll just have to clean that off with a brush, and I'll put a bit of a patch over there. I did the front as well. This is the glass I'm using. It's double diagonal. You can bend it and it curves quite nicely. And I'll be using epoxy resin with that. I'm not sure if the boat is epoxy or polyester, but you can use epoxy over either polyester or epoxy. Alright, so that's set pretty well overnight. Nice and solid now. I could put my hand through that hole yesterday and it's just pretty solid. Alright, you can see I've taken the gel coat off, back to solid fiberglass. So I've got about 3 or 4 inches there, and a bit deeper down here to take in the cracks I've just patched up. And yeah, I've had to gouge out a wee bit here, just because it was there was no strength in it, and it was all delaminating where the crack was. So I've taken that bit out, and I'll just fill it again before I patch it, just to raise it up to the original level. You might be able to see there's a bit of a concave there, so I'll fill that in before I patch it. So what I'm going to do now is wipe the hull down with acetone, just to get any impurities off, any waxes or amine blush, anything that's going to stop the fiberglass sticking. So I'll go through and do that with a clean rag and acetone, and then I'm going to lay up the glass. Plan today is, because the resin isn't fully set, I'll be able to cover over it and overlap these pieces on the front and rear, and without having to worry about the amine blush. So I'll get rid of these high points and overlap somewhere there, and cover these parts, and I'll do the rear, same thing on the rear as well. You can see I've filled in the hole that was there just with what I had left over. I bunched up a whole lot of fiberglass, wetted it and put it in the hole, and that's filled up that big cavity there. Okay, you can see I've patched up the rear of the keel and the front, and I've also put a bit of a filler patch and where I had to grind out the old fiberglass, so it's brought it up to the original surface. So I'm just going to let that dry and tidy it up. Alright, I've made these wooden rails for the keel and either side on the bottom of the hull, just carved out of timber. So I'm going to glue and screw those on today. I'll mix up a batch of epoxy glue. It's basically just epoxy resin mixed with a glue powder. It's super strong, and that'll spread the load over the bottom of the keel and the sides here, so we shouldn't get another rip in it like before. So the keel runner I've made out of black poplar. It's a fairly strong light wood, and these side rails are New Zealand matai. It's a really strong, stiff hardwood, so that will just take any impact and spread it over the whole area rather than point loading, which is why it got a hole in it last time. The rocks were point loading on the edge. I intend to be leaving it on the beach quite a bit at our batch in the Marlborough Sounds, so it needs to have a bit of protection on the bottom. Alright, all the wooden strips are glued in place, nice and solid now. It's going to give it a lot more strength. I've coated all the timber with epoxy, and that'll seal it up nicely. Given it a quick sand with 80 grit paper, dusted it off, and it's all ready for a coat of paint now. I'm not going to be too fussy with fairing it because it's just going to be a workhorse and it doesn't really matter what it looks like. So as long as it's strong enough, it'll be good enough for me. So yeah, a bit of the glass mat will show through the paint, but that doesn't really worry me. If I was doing it for looks, I would put a fairing compound on and sand it all smooth, but it's just it's a waste of time because the boat's going to get a bit of a hammering anyway, so as long as it's nice and strong, that's the main thing. Alright, so that's the bottom of the hull done. You can see it sitting on the wooden rails really nicely, so it's not going to scratch the fiberglass at all. I can drag it up and down the beach without worrying too much about it. And that's going to strengthen it up substantially. So now I've just got a bit of work to do on the top side. All these this broken railing along the outside, I'll replace all that, and a little bit of a patch to do on this corner, and might as well patch that up while I'm at it. Alright, so I've taken the rail off all around the outside, and notice there's a few little cracks in some of the edges here, so I'll put a piece of glass over all those. There's one there and another one on this corner, and yeah, a little bit at the front here, so 3 patches should fix that up. That's set quite nicely. I ended up covering it all with cling film and taping it down just so the edges stay folded over, because they were starting to creep up. So that's left quite a nice finish actually. It's quite good using cling film because you can tease the bubbles out from under the film, and the less bubbles in it, the stronger it's going to be. Pretty happy with that. That's given it a lot more strength.